Good evening, guys. I know it's surprising while you're only seeing me and I'm in a hotel. Oh, Jen, you got here quick. What can I say?
Hello. Welcome. How are you?
I'm good, running around all day, as I'm sure you are as well. So,
yeah, that was pretty. I got back in the nick of time.
Well, perfect place to start, Jen. Why don't you tell everybody what you were just up to?
I love when you do that to me like I'm a kid. Why don't you tell the people this?
Yeah, come on.
Can I please welcome everybody? It is Thursday night, Generational Change. I'm Jen.
I'm Peter, and our crowd is extremely small tonight. I don't know what the hell's going on.
What's going on? Where is everybody? No, it's all good. You never know what else is on at the same time. And yeah, so
maybe the world is on fire and we just don't know it.
So I was just speaking at a little mini press conference outside of the City Hall Town Hall at Southwest Ranches, which is a municipality, a small municipality in West Broward. And the town of Southwest Ranches, shortly after October 7th, very quickly created and had a resolution that, of course, supports Israel's right to defend itself and that they stand in solidarity with Israel and blah, 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 blah. Why does the town of Southwest Ranches need to do that? They don't. It's just virtue signaling in any event. But the problem is that people that are residents of Southwest Ranches who are not in favor of this, when they showed up to the meeting, mind you, this is a public meeting at their town hall, and they were not only kept from going in, but they were removed by police. So one of the people that was not allowed the right to speak is actually suing the town for violating her First Amendment rights, and rightfully so.
We have First Amendment.
Yeah. Well, in theory, they don't seem to be applying anymore, but in theory we do. And so they are suing the town of Southwest Ranches for violating their right. And it is off the wall for so many reasons. Again, I don't know why I don't know what, honestly, let me say this, this is what I said at the press. Like, this is what people need. And I feel like if people could just hear what I'm saying and understand this, several things. I'm going to start with the big picture. One, countries don't have rights. No country has a right. They don't have a right to exist. They don't have rights. Countries don't have rights. Humans have rights. Countries have obligations to protect those rights. That's it. All right. So one, no, Israel does not have the right to exist. There's that. Okay. Second, did Israel have the right to defend itself? No, it did not. It's a violation of international law. Not that anybody cares about law now that we're a rogue state, but no, it didn't. A country does not have the right to defend itself against an occupied people that they are occupying. That's not how this works. So now you have the town of Southwest Ranches proclaiming in a resolution. And what's interesting is one of the main people who is in Southwest Ranches has been bequeathed by a gentleman by the name of, his name was Gary Polyakov. He was the senior attorney at the law firm that I worked at, one of the original people of this town. And now his son is now sort of running the town there. And this town is run like that. And they're Zionist. So they, it's fascinating because I know for a fact that he knows, because he is an attorney, and I remember practicing with him when his dad was still around. And so he understands the concept of international law. He knows it. So they now have a town resolution that Israel has the right to defend itself. Meanwhile, this town is denying the people that live there their actual rights to speak at the council of beings that supposedly represent them. Right. So they have it all backwards. So that was what my little educational bit was about. Again, towns don't have rights. Nations don't have rights. Humans have rights. everybody, please try to understand this. Like it's very frustrating.
You know what I'm noticing a lot lately with the people that have been funding our channel, and our channel is growing, which is great to see. And obviously, we're very happy for, all the new people that show up, like P and Anagenis. But then, of course, we have our regulars. Anagenesis. Yes. Charisse has always been here. Travers has been here from the beginning. So has Holly Horn. El Solverde. We're very grateful for all of you guys that have been with us, that stick with us and have seen us grow. And we have been saying for the longest time that if you get marred down in the bullshit that is the two-party nonsense, you're already lost. You're already lost, and you're wasting your time. And much like anybody who comes to Debbie Wasserman Schultz's district would think that even an area like Southwest Ranches would be somewhat immune to the psychosis that is
It
Zion.
should be. It should be. And for people who don't know, Southwest Ranches is the place that was originally created for the concept of people that just want to live and let live. They don't have, there's not like subdivisions. Everybody just keeps to themselves. You can have farm animals. Like you have to have a certain amount of land because they're just all big. But the whole premise of this town was live and let live, except for now it's being controlled by a Zio.
And shout out to somebody who we haven't seen in a while, but obviously very happy to see in the chat this evening. Big Dumb Animal has decided to show up. And yes, it is the NFL draft. My G-men, the New York Football Giants, will be picking third. I'm pretty sure we're going to pick Abdul Carter from Penn State. We could absolutely use a new edge rusher. It's always good to build your defense. Something the Miami Dolphins don't seem to know a thing or two
about. I can't believe you're getting into a sports thing now.
I'm only saying that if there's a reason why our audience is somewhat light to start this evening, I would definitely say that could be a contributing factor.
Really? You think we have a big crossover appeal with people other than maybe you and Big Dumb Animal that are into the NFL draft? Really?
Everybody here loves the NFL.
I don't think that's our typical people. No, I don't.
No. But what I will say is that when you think about what we've had to deal with locally, there was a story the other night that I was sharing with Jen about some of the locals here, and some of them are well-intended. I don't think they're bad people. I think they are just kind of stuck in their own rut, and they don't know how to get out of it. And so there was a post on social media alluding to this idea that Congressman Jared Moskowitz is somehow a good guy. And all I'm thinking is, do you not know anything about this guy? Like, do you not pay any attention at all to what he's involved in? The fact that he is a total Nepo baby. He was just like Matt Gaetz. I said he was adjacent to Matt Gaetz. Matt Gaetz got to Congress because of his father, and Jared Moskowitz got to Congress because of his late father. There's no question that is the reason. And while he's in Congress, he has been extremely antagonistic towards Bernie Sanders, AOC, and anybody who is in the progressive left contingent of Democratic Party politics. And that goes for people that are not even in the Democratic Party anymore. He's just somebody who likes to do a lot of shit posting. On top of that, he is a prolific stock trader, aka insider trader. And if that's not enough, and there's plenty more because you can take a look at his votes, but above everything else, he is a Zion-Nazi through and through, full stop. And yet, they want to put out a post alluding to this idea that he's a good guy. Oh, and he likes Bernie and AOC.
Oh, and my God.
Like, how? And listen, if you're watching, you know who. I say this with love. Open up your fucking eyes already.
They won't step back from the party. They won't step back. They won't get out of the party.
It's not even a question of stepping back.
Because that's the only reason that they would ever say anything complimentary about him is because he happens to be on their team. Otherwise, he'd be a Republican. If he was red, she'd be bitching about him. So it has nothing to do with it. Only is because he's on her team. He's a total piece of crap.
But this is also why. But this is also why the Republican Party evolves so much more effectively than the Democratic Party does. The Republican Party, but especially people who I think there's much more of a consensus of the Republican voting base that proudly identifies themselves as independent versus those who are supporters of the Democratic Party who always want to talk about how true blue they are, like how proud they are to be of the Democratic Party and that I've been a blue voter for. The amount of animosity that is being held to Trump and his people because of their undying loyalty to the state of Israel right now, among other things. It's not the only thing. But that to me speaks volumes to the differences between the multiple factions that separate the left and the right, but most importantly, the populists versus the consensus pragmatists. And those types of people, especially those who, while they may support non-corporate progressive policies, they will die on the altar of that party line forever. There is
and
nothing.
It's not going to be that much longer, though. That's the good news.
No, it won't. And of course, one of the people who I will not name, who thinks of themselves as some woman about town, and we'll just leave it at that. You have to see the way that the commentary is placed in these Facebook chats, as if to say, we all have to come together. Come together around what? What exactly? Vote blue?
Well, what we're going to talk, our guest is here.
Okay.
I don't know if you're not seeing it. Normally you're the person who sees it, but I think you're not seeing it. So guys, this is somebody that I saw, I find people that I watch doing interviews and I'm like, oh, that's really interesting. And then I remember who the person is and I send out an email, but then I forget where it is I saw the interview. Like this is the regular thing. But this gentleman, his name is Eli Clifton, and he is somebody that has done extensive research into the Edelman family and into
Adelson,
and their extensive ties to the party. So welcome to Generational Change.
Thank you for having me.
Sorry about that. He normally does it. And I'm like, okay, he's waiting. And then I realize he doesn't see you because he's out of town. I'm so sorry.
Eli, it's my
fault.
Yes.
No worries.
Welcome. So can you maybe jar my memory on where I might have seen you maybe within the past few weeks doing an interview about the article?
It must I did several interviews, but one of the ones that got probably the most pickup was a longer interview with Ali Abu Nima on Electronic Intifada.
Okay, that's it. I'd love to get Ali to come on, but he's so busy. I love him. So yeah, and I think that this is really an important issue. We've been seeing over and over, more people are realizing that the parties all have the same donors. They really do. Like they're all controlled by the same people, but there is definitely a particularly nefarious donor in Miriam Adelson that people are not necessarily realizing. And I think that more people have to see the influence that this has. So can you talk about that article
Sure.
And what you investigated, what you reported?
So I mean, I was digging into sort of the backstory of how Mahmoud Khalil, the graduate student at Columbia University who was arrested and they are seeking his deportation, that was starting last month. What was the campaign, if there was one, that led to him being singled out? Because it did seem a little bit arbitrary, not just him, but now the other folks who have been targeted at, be it at Tufts or at Georgetown, the fact at Cornell that, yeah, I mean, they are certainly student activists, but it's not like they were, getting picked up necessarily in the mainstream media. These were not people who were, it didn't seem to stand out in any particular way versus other student activists who may have been green card holders or on student visas. And what I saw was that there was this campaign led by among several groups, but one of them called Maccabee Task Force, which had been sort of cheering on the efforts of the Trump administration to threaten to withhold funding from Columbia University and to target individual students at Columbia University for their role in the protests opposing Israel's war in Gaza. And Maccabee Task Force is something that had been familiar to me before because I really closely follow the Adelson family and where they've given their money. And I've known that they gave money to this group starting in 2015, which is when the group was started. And the group claims to be there to, quote, combat the disturbing spread of anti-Semitism on college campuses. But as their own sort of about page quickly gives evidence to, what they really are concerned about is a crossing of what they consider to be legitimate criticism of Israel into dangerous demonization of Israel and its supporters, which is obviously a kind of a subjective way to look at things. But in practice, they really are very concerned historically about the BDS movement, and that sort of segued into their concerns about the campus protests responding to Israel's war in Gaza and the role the United States was playing in helping to facilitate that. Now, Maccabee Task Force balloons. They started in 2015. The Adelsons give them like $2.2 million. And it quickly scales up. Since 2015, the Adelsons have given them over nearly $70 million. And among other things, the organization, again, with their largest source of funding being the Adelson family, hires an executive director, David Brogg, who previously ran Christians United for Israel. So you have these sort of supporters of Israel's far right coming together on this organization that is dedicated toward and really fixated on college campuses. Kind of an odd phenomenon. Perhaps they were actually, in all fairness to them, ahead of the times and understood where things were going to go, because as we saw with the sort of the leading places with the opposition to the war in Gaza were indeed on college campuses. So it's possible they actually kind of had a sense for where things were headed with the debate over Israel, and that college campuses were indeed going to be a major flashpoint in that. Now, Maccabee Task Force's major point of influence is on Facebook, where they have over 300,000 followers. And they really came out hard against Khalil and against Columbia, including the things like just sort of vulgar things like FAFO, F around and find out at Columbia, statements like that. They said the sad truth is that the administration at Columbia couldn't even be bothered to pretend to care about the safety of Jewish students until the White House threatened the prospect of losing $5 billion. And referring to the protesters as the pro-terror mob, and referring to Khalil himself as a Hamas supporter, something which I've gone to Maccabee Task Force and said, I'd love it if you had evidence of that, because that's actually potentially a criminal violation if you're providing material support to a listed terror group. I mean, that's something where we're not talking about deportation here. We're talking about that's a felony. They didn't have anything to support that, it seems. They just appear to have made it up, because I think the Trump administration, if they had evidence of that, has no reason not to charge him. And that's true of, incidentally, all of the student protest leaders who have been arrested, that none of them have been charged with material support, which would be a real crime again. But there's something else here about Maccabee Task Force that I found to be kind of shocking as I dug into them more and more. And one was that a lesser thing is that their spokesperson is actually the former director of speechwriting for Israel's mission to the UN. Shouldn't be too surprising. He didn't want to go on the record defending what they had said or responding to the claim about calling Khalil a Hamas supporter. But I think, and this is kind of where it ties back to where we started about money in politics and the biggest donors to the party. We've been discussing, the Adelsons have been major donors to this group, and their website only lists the leadership as being David Brogg. But in their tax filings, it actually is something interesting is revealed, which is that the president of Maccabee Task Force is Miriam Adelson. And she is the largest donor to the Republican Party since 2013, 2014. The family's given over $600 million to the Republican Party, the vast majority of that being during Trump's presidential races. She is, and her now deceased husband, are far and away not just the biggest donors to presidential campaigns, but to down ticket races as well, to congressional, House and Senate races. And the fact that you effectively have the largest donor to the Republican Party, possibly the largest donor in the American political system at this point in time, not Elon Musk, despite how much we talk about him. He's actually not the largest when you start to look across a time span here of post-Citizens United. It's kind of scary to think that she isn't not just sort of using her influence behind scenes, or as a political donor might do to the candidate that she gave a ton of money to, but she's actually overseeing a smear campaign against a graduate student. And urging the Trump administration to pull federal funds from Columbia University. I don't know how much day-to-day involvement she has, but the point of the matter is she actually has those controls in place. So she has that degree of control over Maccabee Task Force and over the efforts that they're undertaking, targeting students on college campuses. And finally, I would just add that in looking through there's a lot of good transparency information on Facebook pages that'll tell you where the people are based who are operating the page. And one of the things that was revealed in that is that the management of Maccabee Task Force is of their Facebook page is partially being done out of Israel, which sort of tells you that this war in so many different ways is coming home, not just in the form of who's managing the page, but in the form of this money from Miriam Adelson, an Israeli-American dual national, and the largest donor to the political party of the Republican Party.
Eli,
Peter, before you go, I know you. Before you go, I just have a quick question. Do you know if there's a connection between that and the Canary mission? Is there some sort of like because I've noticed that the Canary mission seems to have almost like, it's interesting how there's a very strong crossover.
I have not seen any formal link between them, which doesn't really mean a lot, considering that particularly Canary mission, unlike Maccabee Task Force, goes out of its way to conceal who's behind it, where it's even based. I've written something recently about that, where I found out that actually a University of Pennsylvania trustees family foundation was funding Canary Mission, which is kind of awkward considering that Canary Mission has a whole page dedicated to how University of Pennsylvania is supposedly a hotbed for anti-Israel and anti-Semitic viewpoints. Kind of raises questions about whether that trustee is fulfilling their fiduciary duties to the institution. But I can't say with certainty that there's a connection there. What I will say, though, is that we know that Canary Mission is based in Israel. That's been established. Maccabee Task Force, as I found, actually has a significant portion of their social media work is being done from Israel. And I think that does bring us back to kind of some interesting questions about why, if this isn't loosely a form of foreign influence, I don't know what is. These are campaigns that are being at least partially run from a foreign country seeking to restrict the civil liberties of people inside the United States who simply want to criticize a war happening 6,000 miles away. This doesn't seem like the type of thing that we should be really debating whether this is, acceptable or not. It seems pretty fair, not just that you're criticizing American foreign policy, but you're questioning another country. Why is this something that's being criminalized? But here we are.
Well, I think that, and I've been saying this to Jen for a while, I think that having Trump in the White House is, if we're ever going to rip off the Band-Aid that is American empire, it's going to come in the form of somebody like Donald Trump, because he really doesn't care. He doesn't care about protecting the infrastructure that is the federal bureaucracy of the United States government. And with that is fully understanding the scope in which the Israel lobby is controlled. If there is a central figure within the Israel lobby movement, it is Miriam Adelson. She is the queen who sits on the throne. And on top of everything else, and this is especially true when it comes to the GOP, we saw what the Democratic hawks did for the past several years. They really went after Russia relentlessly. They still do. But certainly with the GOP, China has been their source of, well, that's our enemy and that's who we have to focus on. Well, a little bit of inconvenience has been discovered, as I'm sure you're aware of. It turns out that Miriam Adelson, who has been involved, and this is according to Carl Jha, who's a very big content creator on X. Time for China to revoke Las Vegas Sands gambling license in Macau. Miriam Adelson is one of the biggest financial backers of Trump. She is the biggest financial backer of Trump. Sands derives 80% of its revenue from Macau. No sense allowing her to continue to rake in Chinese money. Cut off the head of the snake. Well, that's easier said than done. I bring this up, and if you could just scroll down, Colin, please. I need people to get a good look at what Miriam Adelson looks like. I want people to be able to see her, to recognize her. We'll get to the Dallas Mavericks in a minute. But I think that this is very important, that people know who the face of this is. I don't know if Colin is there or not because he's not responding, but he may be juggling a couple of things. But point being, I think that this is a much bigger story than people want to let on. If you're going to be as hawkish on China as you're claiming that you are, I would think that this is a pretty serious story that you would think people would want to be talking about. But it goes to the heart of the hypocrisy that is the American empire. It doesn't matter what the facts are. It matters what the narrative is that can be controlled. But this is not a narrative that I think can be controlled. What do you think about that?
I think it can absolutely be controlled, and it has been for the better part of a couple decades about what that relationship looks like. And I will say that I don't think it's as simplistic as Carl portrays it, which is that their license would be revoked. I think it's more a question of whether the Adelsons are going to once again step up to, possibly in this case, to actually try to get the trading relationship back on track. Because during Trump's first term, they did play a very key role. Now, whether they did so because of pressure put on them or because they simply understood that it was in their own interest to keep the relationship on the tracks, they actually played a pretty major role in getting the Trump White House to walk back a trade war that appeared to be brewing with China at the time. And Trump actually credited the Adelsons explicitly for having walked him back. And that wouldn't be the first time that they've taken on that role, or taken on a role in U.S.-China relations, because they also can do it in a more explicitly transactional way. And I would look back to Connie Brooks' reporting in the New Yorker. I believe the article is called "The Brass Ring," that talks about how did they get that casino license. Carl's acting like it was, oh, we woke up one day and they had this license. That's not what happened. In 2000, Sheldon Adelson was interested in getting a casino license in Macau. The Macau's monopoly on the casino licenses that previously had been held by Stanley Ho was about to come to an end. There was going to be an opening up to international casinos and gaming companies. And Adelson wanted to understand what it would take to get in. So he went to Beijing. It was 1999 or 2000. He meets with the mayor of Beijing. Again, this is according to Connie Brooks' reporting. And the mayor says, yeah, I mean, that's really interesting that you want to do this. And maybe I can ask around. But I have a problem. And my problem is that there is, I want the 2008, the upcoming 8 years in the future, Summer Olympics to go really well for Beijing. And I don't like that there's a congressional statement of opposition, which you and I know means nothing, coming from Republicans in the House.
Well, wait a minute, Eli. You don't think a sternly worded letter from a congressperson makes change on Capitol Hill? News to me.
Well, in all fairness, this is the mayor of Beijing. He might not have, been aware of the gravity of this. But he was very concerned about it. And it was a statement of opposition saying that, from the Republicans at the time, saying that they were concerned about China's mistreatment of religious minorities, particularly Christians. And again, if you were giving PR advice to the Chinese, you would probably say, just don't make a thing out of this. This is no one's going to notice that this statement goes out. But he didn't know and he wanted it to go away. So Sheldon Adelson says, I can fix it. He takes out his cell phone. He calls Tom DeLay and he puts it down and says, Mr. Mayor, it's gone. And that supposedly really did help pave the way, according to, again, the reporting in the New Yorker. I may have gotten some of the details wrong. You should check it out. It's a great piece of reporting. That led to or helped lay the groundwork for their acquisition of the casino license. I believe it is half of the casino licenses now in Macau are owned by foreign gaming companies. So the Sands Corporation, and I think this is kind of where it gets interesting, coming back to the topic of Miriam Adelson, their name is the Las Vegas Sands Corporation, but they have, I don't believe, any casinos in Las Vegas anymore. They sold the Venetian. Mm-hmm. And they are essentially an Asian and really a Chinese gaming company. As was pointed out there, 80% of their revenues come out of Macau. The other 20, or the better part of 20, I believe, come out of Singapore, Marina Bay there, which is largely catering again to probably to a lot of gamblers coming from China to play there. So yeah, I think the tension that's being pointed out here is exactly right. It's that, how does this exist? And I just wouldn't be quite as flippant to say that, oh yeah, they're going to yank your license. You can only do that once.
Right. And I think
you'd rather work with her to try to see what she can do.
Well, that's what it comes down to.
Yeah,
more than anything else,
exactly.
It's all about money and power. It doesn't, there are, again, I haven't seen the movie Network. I know that I should, but it's very true what Ned Beatty says. When you get to a certain level, there are no countries, there are no political parties. It's just the people who control everything and everybody else. And that's basically it. And Miriam Adelson is at that level of wealth where she basically can control financial changes within major countries. And that's a serious thing.
And there is a certain, I don't know if it's absurdity or an intrigue to the situation, which is that, and I think you've now sort of mapped it out, that she's making her money. The family makes their money largely. It's a publicly traded company, in all fairness. It's a public company in Macau, a special administrative region of China, largely with mainland Chinese gamblers coming there to play. So obviously they're highly dependent, not just on their gaming license being renewed. Otherwise, they have some of the largest family-friendly entertainment in Macau, which I don't think is going to be so profitable. But they also the flow of gamblers across Macau does have a border with mainland China, so the permission to allow that many gamblers in. So they are highly dependent on a good relationship with Beijing, and so that's one piece of the puzzle. That revenue is being used to, in many respects, to fund the Republican Party's electoral efforts. I mean, I'm not saying that like the money is being passed through in that sense, but this is the same person. You see where the money comes in, you see where it goes out, and clearly Miriam Adelson, again, from just her own statements, putting aside statements her husband's made, but her own statements, says that her priorities are Israel and prioritizing Israel's her definition of Israel's security and safety, which involves essentially ironclad U.S. support for whatever it is Israel wants to do.
We're going to play a short clip that I think crystallizes in a very effective way who Miriam Adelson is and what she's involved in. And again, everyone should know the name Miriam Adelson.
Maccabee Task Force is one of the groups that is behind the college campus crackdowns. And who's the top funder and leader of the task force? Miriam Adelson. Yeah, the person who's donated over $600 million to politics. That same lady. She owns a huge casino. That's how she has all the money to do this. Since 2015, she's donated over $70 million to the MTF to crack down anything in college campuses that criticizes or even questions our overlords. The ADL does it too. There's multiple organizations involved in this. These are non-government private groups that work in the same role as government groups. Miriam's $600 million to political campaigns, it gives her the permission and protection to do all this stuff. Money rules our system. Not democracy, not even our own government rules our system. A foreign government does. They bought the power and ability to control our college campuses. This is the reason why we have our college kids so brainwashed. Really, our government needs to retake control over its own governing and not allow foreign powers and dual citizens to govern our country.
Seems pretty simple. But at what point does the American consensus become, this isn't about red versus blue? We were having this conversation before you hopped on about how people are still stuck in that rut. This is about corporate special interests controlling our government. And it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Both parties are habitually owned, bought and paid for. They both have their billionaires. But this particular billionaire almost is willing to chance World War III in order to protect her passion project, which happens to be the state of Israel. I don't know if there is a tie-in here, but perhaps you can speak on it. Now, sports is definitely my bag. Basketball is my favorite sport. It's what I played. I have followed the Dallas Mavericks. It's not my team, but I'm well aware of the organization. Jen and I have had some fairly favorable things to say in our brief communications with Mark Cuban. But his decision to sell his interest share in the Dallas Mavericks to the Adelson family is something that I don't think he gets enough criticism for. When you're at that level, I understand it's a small pool in terms of who can afford to purchase a professional sports team, but I'm sure there are other billionaires and other billionaire conglomerates that would have been more than happy to purchase a professional basketball team in the Dallas metro area. That to me, I don't think is a huge stretch. What do you see is this lady's intention? I do believe that the intention from where I stand is to try to tank the franchise as they have done with the Luka Doncic trade and ultimately piss off the fan base so much that they stop coming to games over the next few years, because I don't think they're going to convince the Texas GOP to approve legalized gambling in the state of Texas, and then thereby move the team to Las Vegas. It's already been in talks for a while that Las Vegas, despite all of their problems with clean drinking water, intends to bring all 4 major sports to Sin City. It doesn't seem like it's that much of a stretch to think that is one of the potential moves that she's working on. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, and I think you already kind of alluded to it with whether the Texas GOP will allow or support casino gambling in Dallas. I think she had probably some contingencies in mind. And I think that based off of the purchases that Las Vegas Sands made in the Dallas area of property. And my understanding is that the only feasible reason to have acquired that was in speculating about the possibility of being able to expand into casino gaming, because it's unclear what other facilities the Dallas Mavericks would need. They already have their arena. What would be the point of that? So I do think that they probably sincerely do want to get a casino gaming operation going in Dallas. Otherwise, why would you make those acquisitions of the property? But I think you're exactly onto something here, which is that definitely I think a plausible plan B is that they will happily move them to Las Vegas. And I would add that I think it's also worth looking at the history there of the Adelson family in professional sports in Las Vegas, which is that Sheldon Adelson really wanted to have a piece of the Raiders when they were moved to Las Vegas. He supposedly did actually play some roles in helping to broker the deal. He just didn't end up getting to have a piece of the ownership or a piece of the stadium, which had been his and his family's hope. So the fact they already own the Mavericks in this case would kind of assure that if they moved them to Las Vegas, they would obviously get to retain ownership and get to be a professional sports franchise owning family in Las Vegas. So I think that's absolutely plausible. I do think that they probably would at least are making a passing effort at seeing if they could get gaming going alongside that in Dallas. But you're right. I mean, listen, the trade was so vastly unpopular, and I think it's really interesting. Dave Zirin does a lot of good coverage of this. That the populist uproar against Miriam Adelson for the trade and for her purchase of the Mavericks goes beyond any of the backlash I've seen of her for her other political activities. But what's interesting is that the people who are getting really pissed off at her because of the perception that her family's, I mean, I don't know if she made this decision about the trade, but that her family's decisions that have been made about the operations of the team seem like it is like snowballing a little bit, where now you hear basketball fans saying, yeah, and I don't like what she's doing with supporting the war in Gaza, or attacking kids on college campuses. And I find it's a really interesting phenomenon. It'll be, if this actually does kind of coalesce together, which I think it is, in some sort of a populist backlash against her. It's something we're going to have to study going forward, because I can't think of like a really comparable thing, right? Where you have this intersection of American sports and politics and foreign policy. And I mean, not to say those things don't intersect, behind the scenes or in ways that you or I pay attention to, but the fact that it's entering like the zeitgeist and people are talking about it, the fact that sports people or sports fans and the sports pundits are engaging with this at some level, that's I don't know, it's uncharted territory, at least for me.
I think it's great though, and I think what's awesome about it is not just that it's introducing a whole new crowd of people to a topic that they might not have otherwise been, interested in, but just that people even know who she is at all. Yeah. Generally, oligarchs, for the most part, like we know the top few, like we know the ones we know, but like if there's 60 something people at Davos, we only know a handful of those people, just as public knowledge, right?
Right.
So the fact that more people are meeting this person and seeing who this is good. Because this is how they get away with what they do for so long in terms of corruption, in terms of foreign influence, is because most people don't know. So
absolutely,
the more people that know is good. Now, the thing about the foreign influence, which is so infuriating for me, and I try to explain this to people all the time, if you take out the word Israel and insert the word China in any of these things, people would be livid. Like, let me tell you, if there was the America-China Public Affairs Committee, people would lose their minds. Like, that would be the end of that. So, the fact that we're so all comfortable with the influence of a foreign government and a foreign national, it isn't even a matter of, to me, dual citizenship, because I don't care if donors have dual citizenship. This is a matter of somebody who's so clearly invested in a foreign entity, and in the, like, it's just so absurd that we're at this level.
Yeah, I mean, this is a family who flew Jonathan Pollard, a convicted spy, out of the country at the end of Trump's first term, and they did so. And I think you're kind of onto something here. That, listen, like, when you have the type of money they have, there's other people that have similar amounts of money, and no doubt, pull the levers of power and exert their influence. But there's something about the Adelsons where they do so. And maybe credit to them. They own it. They're not trying to hide anything, and ultimately that's a good thing if that's the case. Because it'd be better if more people were like that, I suppose. Or there's just a brazen quality to them. And I go back to that story about Jonathan Pollard. There'd been this multi-decade effort to seek clemency for him, or first a pardon, then to have his parole restrictions lifted, and finally, Trump, I think it was his parole restrictions were lifted so he could leave the country and go to Israel. And Pollard, his espionage did an enormous amount of damage by all accounts. And but so the Adelsons had lobbied for this behind closed doors, but it had been known that they had done so. They never concealed it, which is interesting that they've, once again, no issues with that they owned that. But when it was finally time for him to leave the country, it was during COVID. There were limited flights. So you can make the argument that maybe, he needed to take a private plane. I don't think there were direct flights from the greater New York area to Tel Aviv at that time. So, what would a billionaire who wants to help him out do? I mean, well, maybe they'd charter a plane for him. Maybe, I don't know. There's a lot of ways you could quietly do this. But I remember, because I was watching that night and I saw the photos, and I remember being like, I know that plane. And it was the Las Vegas Sands livery on it. It was one of the Adelson family's planes. And that, I thought, was an interesting message that was being sent consciously or unconsciously by the Adelson family, which is that they hadn't taken a single step to conceal that they were flying Jonathan Pollard back to Israel. And sure enough, Miriam Adelson took to the pages of the newspaper they own in Israel, Israel Hayom, writing about Pollard's return to Israel, where she said he should be welcomed home as a soldier or a warrior who had been away for very long, and it deserves a quiet retirement. And then she said something that I really found unnerving, where she said, and to our American friends, this is an episode just best forgotten. She's basically telling us, forget what you saw, forget what you know, just memory hole it.
No, I think, and we are of the consensus that the state of Israel is going to fall because it has finally gotten too big for its britches. It's overextended itself to the point where the average person now looks at Israel and has a very visceral reaction to it in a way that we haven't seen. The fact that you have one student who Miriam Adelson feels the need to bring the entire weight of the Israel lobby against in Mohammed Khalil. This is just the start. What are you going to do when you got 100 of them doing it? You're never putting this back in the bag again. And I've been saying, and I will continue to say, that the greatest tragedy could also have perhaps the greatest retribution of all when it comes to the Palestinian children. They cannot die in vain. They cannot be swept from this earth and allow the nation that did this to get away with it. And I think that that's going to change. I think that the consensus about Israel is changing significantly. And I think our task tonight with this conversation is to allow more people to become familiar with who is one of the true queen makers of the entire Israel project. Miriam Adelson is that person. She pulls that much weight and she spends that much money. So it is on us to continue to expose it. I know there are people who think with the Dallas Mavericks that Nico Harrison has anything to do with this. He has nothing to do with it. Trust me. And I've been involved I worked for a professional sports team. I can assure you that a decision like that with a franchise player like Luka Doncic, that was not Nico's decision. It's much like Kirsten Sinema killing certain Bills. They're always just compensated in their mind after the fact. I'll take the heat, but I got to get paid. And he's going to get paid very well. So that's how it works. But if nothing else, we can't thank you enough for coming on this evening, Eli. If there's anything that you'd like to plug about what you're currently working on at the Quincy Institute,
where can people find all your stuff? Because I know you write for a lot of different places.
Most of my stuff is at least co-published at responsiblestatecraft.org. That's our publication at Quincy Institute. I also frequently am writing for The Intercept, The Guardian, and elsewhere. Please follow me, check it out. And
absolutely.
I think you're having a great conversation and asking all the right questions.
Give
our
very
best.
Much. And since you're with The Intercept, continue doing what you're doing. There's not a lot of good honest journalism that's out there. We talk
No.
about that constantly. But The Intercept is one of the few publications that really does have their ish together. So thank you for that. Thank you for what you do at the Quincy Institute. And thank you for exposing one of the truly vile people in modern history. It really sucks that they exist, but thank you for putting in the work. It really is a testament to all the
Would
things.
you come back sometime?
Love to.
Okay, great. Good.
Have me
Thank
back.
you. We love to have journalists. It's a good thing. Thank you.
Take care.
Thanks,
Bye.
Eli.
Bye.
Great conversation. And
Lovely.
yes, hopefully very informative for a lot of you guys. You know, I've
God,
been
he
talking.
knows his. I told you he knows his whole shtick about her and about that
Thank you.
family.
Yes. And so
It's
for
called
those of you that are
responsible
here,
research.
well, we need that. And for those of you that are here, and it's amazing, our chat did pick up. We actually have already hit over 100 live viewers.
Can you see it? Are you able to do stuff?
Yeah, I'm doing it right now.
Okay, because you didn't see him there, so I wasn't sure if it was because you weren't logged in under you.
I
But
just,
you
I,
need-
I was talking and I didn't see. Maybe I
okay,
didn't-
let's go back and do some super chats because there's a
I
big super chat.
You know something, Jen? You really are a pain in my ass. Guys, if you are so inclined, please go over to patreon.com/generational change for as little as $5 a month. You could become a supporter of our small but mighty channel. Yes, I have already run the names. S. Jera, thank you so much for the 99 cents. As we often say, every dollar counts. And then we also have to acknowledge that there are some very substantial contributors. What? Yes, what? 99.99. No, thank you for being here and supporting our channel. It really means a lot. Now,
does.
We're going to have a little bit of fun.
We
Isn't that what it's about?
Are we having fun? Are you having fun yet?
Yes. Well,
you're in Orlando, right?
I am in Orlando.
Why don't you tell everyone why you're in Orlando, Peter?
I'm in Orlando because I have a growing business and I'm trying to facilitate growth with that business. Although I did have to sit through a timeshare explanation this afternoon. That was interesting.
The old good timeshare presentation.
Oh yeah, they had a former NFL player give it, so it was didn't work on me. But I did learn some things that I think will be valuable.
For staying where you're staying, that's how it goes.
Yes, it's a nice place. I mean, like
I know how it works. You go, you have to sit through the presentation.
No, but I did pick up a few things from me personally for my business that I think will be useful. So for those of you that are familiar with Mr. Bonfiglio, he goes by the Misfit Patriot. We have been seeing a substantial amount of content that has been thrown out there as of late, which should not surprise anybody, because as I've often said, anybody that is going to task for Israel to talk about how bad Palestinian people are, they're probably being paid. And if they're not being paid, they're trying to get paid, because this is what happened with Tim Pool, Benny Johnson, and I believe Dave Rubin, that they were getting paid a substantial amount of money by the Russian government to promote the Russian side of the Ukraine-Russian conflict. And so as a result, it can be if you sign up for it. Now,
it's so funny.
If you guys have not seen the Aspen episode of South Park, make sure you check that one out. That's as good. You have to light up.
You're talking about South Park. I'm checking out.
So anyway, Mr. Bonfiglio decides that he's going to put out a post about how it doesn't matter how many Palestinian children have to be killed. It is justified for protecting the state of Israel. I guess some people can live with themselves with making this statement, but Mr. Bonfiglio didn't want to stop there. He decided to make a video about it. And this guy has over 100,000 followers on Instagram. So I don't know what in the F people find in him. I guess there are just some real hardline conservative quacks that really enjoy this type of content. So be it. Everyone's entitled to it, but my God, is this guy a bastard?
I have once again triggered all of the woke-ass, right-left fucking virtue signaling, moral superior fucking retards on the internet by just telling the truth. So I made this post, and it's blown up, and I'm getting a lot of pushback. Now, this isn't a fucking walk back. This isn't a backpedal. This isn't anything. I meant this shit.
Let me ask you, and you guys who follow us for a while know that I obviously have no clue who this is. Why do we care? And why do we want to give him like a more air than he's worth?
As far as I'm concerned, these are the types of people that need to be exposed, because I want people to be looking into guys like this. I want people to know if this son of a bitch is getting paid to talk like this. I believe he is. I believe people. I'm okay with as many dead kids as it takes to stop Hamas. Like, if you're still talking like that at this point, how is there, especially
So
with that?
your thought is that it can't just be hardcore Zios, that they have to be basically like
This
trolls that are
Guido,
paid
this
operatives.
this Guido from Florida, who's already been arrested, who accused our friend Greg Stoker of stolen valor. People don't talk like this unless they're trying to make something of
So
themselves.
someone's offered him a few bucks, like Michael Rappaport, people that are getting paid to spew their shit.
Look at that guy. He doesn't have any eye. He's got, you see, if you look at his eyes, there's nothing there. There's no soul. The guy's completely dead. That's what I see.
Does he have a big follow? I mean, I don't know this person.
He does. He has a decent following. There's no question about it. He's got a YouTube channel. He's got all those things. But this is a guy who actually is not served in the military, and he likes to act like he's a big shot. But he's really not. You know what?
I love. Thank you, Claire. Thank you, Claire. Yeah. Are you? I think is that the woman in Cork? Are you the lady in Cork?
Yes, I think you're right.
I'm coming there. I'm coming. Yeah.
I don't think you have content creators that are so shitty in the UK. Well, maybe in England, but not in Ireland and Scotland. I can tell you that much.
I'm coming to the Green Island.
All right. Now this is in response, by the way, to Cernovic. Watch. Dave Smith frustrates them because he'll say, "You said killing kids is acceptable. How many dead kids are you okay with?" This is emotional blackmail. And it's not an argument in good faith, so why would I respond in good faith? No, let's read what I did say. I'm okay with as many dead kids as it takes to stop Hamas. I don't understand why everybody's mad at me for saying this. They asked a question, I answered it honestly. Right? I'm okay with it the same way you're okay with it. We're all okay with it. We always have been okay with it. Right? I'm pretty sure that
who's we?
All of the people on Nagasaki and Hiroshima weren't like military age fighting men, right?
But yeah, we
dropped
weren't okay
bombs
with that.
on children.
I don't like him.
I'm also playing this for a reason.
Because I hate this. I hate him.
I want you guys to see what type of vitriol comes from the bad side of libertarian politics. Because these are the types of guys that like to live off the grid, that like to act like a tough guy. As I said, this guy has never served in military. He's never served, much less in combat. But he acts like he's tough. He's tough. I can handle a gun. I think you're all a bunch of pussies and all this. Okay. Let's see how tough you really are.
Can I say like honestly, the men that I know, like manly men, would never in a million years say something like that. I'm okay with this. Like, can you imagine like what somebody like Matt would say about that, Matthew Ho?
Matthew Ho would look at this guy and say, "Why don't you say it to my face instead of?"
I'm just saying, like, people that I know who are knowledgeable, potentially have had experiences that are, horrifying, and would never talk like this. So it's just interesting that this man has so much to say and so little insight as to what he's saying. Like, I mean, it's just a real man would never say that. Like, this is a very insecure person.
Oh, he's got a small dick. I don't doubt that for a second.
He's compensating for something, for sure.
100%. Big truck. He's a total. Hey, listen, Mr. Bonfiglio, I know you're going to see this clip because our clips are doing numbers now. So by all means, make a response.
And I don't know who you are, so quite honestly, whatever, man.
Oh, he's making the rounds now. But as far as I'm concerned, I appreciate that this guy talks like this, because this shows at the heart of what it's all about, supporting the state of Israel. This should incite more people to say the hell with Israel, or Israel, as you like to say.
Israel.
You think this guy gives two fucking shits about Israel? He cares about getting paid. Much like he doesn't care anything about Palestinian.
We need somebody like Eli Clifton to investigate this stuff.
Oh, yes. Eli, please. I'm thinking of Tony. I thought Tony Clifton for a second. I did the damn Clifton.
I'm talking about people that are actual journalists that investigate people.
Yep, 100%.
and we were okay with it, and it was the right thing to do, because Japan started a war with a bigger enemy and then ran back and hid, and we were like, you better fucking surrender. So they were like, no. And we were like, okay, this is how many we're gonna accept of your dead children. That's how war works. All right. I think that people are upset about me because, you know, I have a touch of the tism, and I just speak very direct. I'm not emotional about this, right? We're okay with the RUF grabbing up kids and chopping off their hands and then fucking and putting a rifle in the good hand that works and having them kill other kids, right? We're okay with the fucking Muslims in the Congo and Syria slaughtering children all the fucking time, every.
You see, when you start going down this path of we're okay with Syria and this and that, no, dickwad, we talk about this stuff. We talk about the same shit that goes on in every country. And as Jen, you've pointed out many times before, Israel is us and we are Israel, much like we are going around the world into places like the Congo and into Syria. And why do we go into these places? Because we want their natural resources. Congo has the greatest concentration of lithium resource in the world. So why would we not go there? You like these things? You like being able to get a different one every single year? That's how you get it. So when this shithead starts talking about this, what he's really doing is just finding another way to justify killing innocent people, to justify our empire continuing as it's continuing. Wrong. Israel just happens to be the most egregious out of all of them. Some of them at least have the sense to try to protect what they're getting away with. This is not going to stand. And yet this guy wants to continue to espouse this message that you complain now, but are you really willing to give up something in order to stop it? I am. I think everybody is. How people live with themselves knowing what you have to do in order to get this stuff is beyond me. So in a way, I appreciate the fact that he's saying what he's saying, because now you have to ask yourself, is it really worth supporting when it's people like him that come out and say, I don't care how many Palestinian kids have to be killed. They're just using Hamas as a crutch. They would say, oh, China's pointing missiles at us, so we have to kill all of the Chinese children. How many Chinese children are you okay with being mass murdered? It's the same thing. It's the same thing with Ukrainian children. Nothing changes. It's all about endless war.
Can we be done with him? How much more of him? He's so gross.
I'll pull him.
Thank you. He's just like, that to me is the antithesis of what I consider to be masculine, is somebody that would be okay eradicating children.
And he thinks he's
that is the least masculine. Like, that is just so pitiful. Like, it's just pitiful.
There it is.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, there's no, these people, well, I believe that the people in those positions that get to those positions that are like that, these are psychopaths. These are not normal people. They're just not normal people. These are psychopathic people.
Ghislaine, I've been saying for the longest time that sodium is going to be the future. The only reason why we don't talk about it is because it isn't commodified yet. Once it becomes commodified, then you'll know about it. That's the only reason. But give it time. They'll figure out a way to make sodium a finite resource and screw us all. I mean, why do you think they poison water? They poison water so that you have to pay for water. That's the thing. There is a way to get clean water. There is a saline system which you can be utilized in order to clean water. But you know why we don't talk about it? It's because you actually have to pay for it. It costs money. That's the problem. Water should be a natural resource. It doesn't cost anything. But have you noticed how expensive water's gotten and how far and few between places you could go to get it for free nowadays? That's changed. And it's only getting worse. So he is a misfit and he isn't a patriot. And anyone who supports that type of content creation, shame on all of you. There's nothing cool about it. Because if it was your kid that got killed, you would have a vendetta against anybody that would speak like him.
Well, people like, And again, if he's a paid person, he's a paid person. But the concept is that the people that talk like that, they don't think of Palestinians as people. So to them, it doesn't matter. They're not people. And also people that are cowardly like that, who have obviously never been in a situation where they've been in a battle where they've had to do that. So it's just they just don't know. They have no concept. It's easy to just talk about that, but we've seen this complete dehumanization.
This is also something that you see much more in the populist right circles than you do in the left circles, is that you will get these guys that portray themselves as soldiers, if you will, like they served in the military, but in reality, they never did.
Right.
And that is you want to talk about compensation, like that's real compensation. I've always said that it's maybe my greatest regret that I didn't join the military, but at the same time, I know that if I did in 2001, I would have ended up in the desert and maybe I would have been killed. So, and knowing now what the war in Iraq was all about and what Afghanistan was all about, we've had Greg Stoker on the podcast. They've told us what Matthew Ho, what their experience is like. We're not there defending freedom. We're there defending opium fields. That's what you're doing. And at any moment's notice, you could have a bomb dropped on your head. What was our Mondaire Jones, who ran for Congress with Jen? He missed death by a fraction of an inch because he turned his head in the other direction. He had his entire eardrum blown out by an IDF when he was driving to Baghdad. And you think that the motherfuckers like him who go around talking shit about Palestinian babies, you are a fucking cuck pussy piece of shit. And if I had to square up against you, I don't care how fucking big you are. You don't fucking talk about kids like that.
You know what? It's people like him. It's people like Brian Mast. It's people that are so clearly okay with dead children. It's a problem. And I would also suggest that any women that are attracted to men like this, you're the problem. The women that are attracted to that kind of man and that would tolerate that, those women, you're a big part of the problem. That's a problem.
Teresa, thank you so much for the $20. We really appreciate your support. You've been one of our very best. We appreciate you being here. Tammy, thank you so much for the $4.99. Mafesh Israel, Arabic for there is no Israel. Well, that's true. There is none. It's Palestine. And thank you, Yalabite, for the $1.99. It's not very Doge that Usha and her kids travel, JD. Do you know what that's about?
I'm not. I'm assuming that they're talking about that how her and the kids travel is not very efficient, or probably they're probably spending more money and wasting money in how they're traveling when they're supposed to be, having government efficiency.
I am going to show you guys just how much a person changes depending on the circumstance. This is going to be a two-parter, but it's going to give you an idea of just how much a person can be affected, whether it's because of their career, their opportunity, they don't have many opportunities and they're looking for one, and then they start changing their tune. Well, Alex Jones, yes, the Alex Jones. This is from September 12th, 2001.
Support the Palestinians either. They're all hyped up and psychotic. But Israel's going to get us nuked, always backing them up like this. Israel calls the Palestinians goyim or cattle or dogs or subhuman. They keep them on concentration camps. I got video of them taking Palestinian women's tomatoes they grow and breaking their water containers and stealing. That's why you have this crap. And our children are going to die. We're going to get nuked because of this. Iran's got the nukes now. Syria. We're going to have nuclear war because Israel likes to go around bombing everybody.
This is the day after 9/11. The day after 9/11,
wow.
And he is going right to the throat of Israel, saying these motherfuckers are the reason why these planes hit the towers. But if you heard Alex Jones today, he wants to pretend like Israel doesn't have anything to do with this. It is, as somebody who we would really love to get on the podcast, and Katie, if you're seeing this, please send me Whitney Webb's email. we would really like to get her on here. It is one nation under blackmail, and it starts with the state of Israel. But Alex isn't done yet.
I'm sorry, it's just the facts. And Israel absolutely is beside itself with joy right now. They are talking about how they're going to blow everything up, how they're going to attack everybody, and guess who's going to get bombed because of it? I have been supportive of Israel for many years. When I found out what they do, shooting little Palestinian children in the genitalia and laughing, it's on video. Little 10-year-olds walk around throwing rocks at tanks. A guy's top a half mile away and blows their testicles off. They call them goyim. They call them dogs. They call the Arabs cattle. And then the corrupt Arab governments that are in league with this government, it's really a sick Hegelian dialectic, order out of chaos, bringing the world crises, bringing them terrorism, so we'll accept a highly dictatorial police state regime. It's happening.
This is almost 25 years ago that he made this statement.
Isn't that amazing?
How much has changed? Not a lot.
Nothing.
Nothing's changed. They're still the same nation. They're just much more egregious about their intentions now. And this comes full circle. How does it come full circle? Because this clip, I shit you not, just came out the other day. You know, I remember, and her name is slipping me right now. The
Here,
person.
Sabbatha says that Sabby can connect you with Whitney too.
Awesome. I will definitely shoot her a message about that one. What I would say is that if you remember, the one thing about people who get involved, who put themselves out there, the person who lost the swimming race to Leah Thomas, I'm forgetting her name right now. The blonde.
It's irrelevant because she's irrelevant.
Well, maybe not because she's brought.
Oh, was it?
It's like
Ranger?
Riley. Well, I'm gonna cue this up now, guys. So Fox. So when you go from Alex Jones in 2001 making that statement the day after 9/11, you now come to, was this yesterday? This is a statement that was made on Fox. I guess it was Fox and Friends, one of those shows. Riley Gaines.
Yeah.
Yes. So Riley Gaines, a person who was noted because she didn't like to have to compete against anatomical men, rightfully so. I agree with. Listen, you can make your faces all you want.
I'm making faces because it's so.
It is what it is, but never.
It's a distraction.
But again, it is a distraction because if it was only about that, you wouldn't have heard from her again. It would have just been about the cause, but instead she decided, no, I'm going to parlay this into a career. And this is the type of shit. This woman is complaining about swimming against an anatomical male, and yet at the same time is in support of the state of Israel and what they're doing. Fuck her and fuck anybody who can't see through the bullshit.
Look, if Green Day, if Kneecap, which is a band I've never even heard of, if they want to be for the Palestinian people, then they shouldn't be anti-Israel. They should be anti-Hamas. And to see on stage a large billboard that says F Israel.
Unreal.
It's unreal. No, this didn't happen in Nazi Germany in the 1930s. This was in 2025 in America. Beyond staggering.
Well, and that's what I wanted to ask you was, how do we combat this with young people? I feel like we can see how it got here, which is the absolute.
Just shut up and swim,
Riley. How do we turn these young people around?
Well, I think we have to remove these activists from these authority positions.
That sounds so insane. Like, how authoritarian. We have to remove activists from authority positions. And she doesn't see again, why do we give a shit what a second-rate swimmer who lost? Again, there's one winner. There's one winner.
Yeah, but
if it's not you, then you're the loser. So why do we care?
But Jen, this is the equivalent of basically saying, why do we give a shit what any celebrity has to say about supporting the Democratic Party? It's the same thing. I agree.
But I don't care about that. And I don't care about, but first of all, they have her bimboed up looking perfect for Fox. Like, she blends perfectly.
Like, they are, much like we criticize the neoliberal women, the Karens, if you will. Well, she's playing right into the gated community country club, we're better than everybody else type of disposition about the way things are and the way things should be. Like, what the hell does she know?
I don't understand why I don't understand why she has this platform. Like who is she that we care? Like, why does she have this platform?
Well, that's why I said she got this platform in large part because she spoke out against Leah Thomas.
So basically, she's the Republican equivalent of a one-issue opportunist like David Hogue.
David Hogue, exactly, 100%.
Okay.
100%, same thing.
Okay.
And that's why they put people like this on TV. They think it still sells. Maybe to some people it does, but what it proves beyond a doubt, any shadow of a doubt, they are so desperate at this point, they don't know what the fuck to do. Because they're now looking at, what do we have to do to convince people that genocide is okay? What do we have to do to convince people that the state of Israel has to be protected and stay the way that it is?
Now I have to go listen to Kneecap. I don't know anything about it, but for me, it's just very music specific. If they're like, I don't like music that sounds angry.
No, but anything that's
I don't know what kind of music they are. I have no idea.
Yeah, well, if it's Irish, then it's got to be at least somewhat decent, right? Come on now.
Well,
I think that's the best
there's a lot of
word for it.
people
We've
that I
seen
like
these
even if I
rogue
don't like their music.
activist judges. Of course, that's been pretty heavily reported on. People are beginning to open their eyes, but these activists have infiltrated into academia, these large, prestigious, at one point maybe considered prestigious academic institutions. We have to remove them. And of course,
you went to the University of Kentucky. With all due respect. Like,
This is so funny to me that this is what I could totally see it. So when that whole thing went down with Leah Thomas and that whole thing went down and they just totally saw her, oh my God, she'll be a really good spokesperson for us. And she's got that like Marjorie Taylor Greene, Fox News look, right? Like she blends. It's so ridiculous, but I don't understand why she's sitting here talking about this like she's any authority.
Well, she certainly tries to carry herself like she has it, that's for sure.
reinstill the values of education. I mean, it's really as simple as that.
You
Celebrities-
stupid. You stupid. She's 00 stupid.
Very stupid. And it goes to show you how the narrative can change over time. And how
I hope she was better at swimming because she seemed to
was
have
a
put a
good
lot of
swimmer.
time
She was
into
good.
that. I hope she was a better swimmer.
she was a good swimmer. I'm not going to take that away from her, but that doesn't change the fact that she is being opportunistic. That's it. It's all about opportunism. Who in the hell are you to go on and talk about Israel-Palestine?
Because you were had a position about a trans woman in a swim meet. So
Does
now
that
you're an
qualify?
expert on foreign policy.
I
why
feel like
not?
I'm acting like Douglas Murray right now. You never been.
No,
You
but
never
not
been.
just that. But why not? You've got our Secretary of Defense was the Fox guy. Like, why not?
Yeah.
It's just all a big, like, it's just so silly. It's so silly. Although I do think he might be the first to go. We're going to find out. But I think he might be the first of the shady bunch to be officially relieved of duty. Speaking of Hegseth.
Before we get to our final topic,
Which is what? You
Well,
always keep me wondering.
we're going to talk about Palantir. I want people to understand that the Zionist state, and we have been very clear about this, at least I think we've been very clear about what's going on with these kids having their homes raided. I'm going to show you guys 3 clips right now that is going to tell you the perfect story about how we ended up here. You want to know why kids are going around in support of Palestine? This is why they're in support of Palestine. This is Gaza today. This was taken earlier today. It's just like Norman Finkelstein said, there's nothing left. They destroyed it all. And yet, they're trying to kill all the Palestinians because it was never about Gaza. It was always about the resources that were in Gaza that were of no concern to the Palestinian people. But to people in our country and people in Israel, they want that natural gas that's under Gaza soil. They want to redevelop that Mediterranean coastline. They want greater Israel. And yet you fools out there that have constantly talked about this idea that we have to get Hamas out of Gaza. There's nobody there. So what the fuck are you talking about?
They're just following orders. They're just following talking points. Most people that say it have no idea what they're talking about. They don't even really know what Hamas is. They don't understand what Hamas is. They don't understand anything. They have no concept of the history, of the nuance, the context, nothing. They know whatever ridiculous talking points they know.
The FBI.
And the we've been watching this for what? How many months? 18 months? Like how this is, and it was never going to end any other way.
No. It's not, but as I said, if nothing else, this will end the state of Israel in the long run. And now the FBI is involved in this. They're now raiding people's houses. Palestinian activists, just activists. No one threatening anything.
And I saw some footage, so it's okay, here's the problem, is that there was an Onion thing that was out that I had forwarded to you that was an Onion thing about student being pulled out of his home.
This may be the clip. I'm not 100% sure.
There was an Onion piece, and then there's a real piece. Again, I feel bad for the Onion. They really have no more purpose.
Yeah, it really sucks.
I can't tell.
No search warrant was provided.
Oh, no, this is real. This is real.
Show me your hands out. Hands up. Back this way. You got a bunch of stuff.
They look really threatening, Jen, let me tell you.
Some paint! It's fucking paint! Oh my god!
It's spray paint.
Wow! How much are we paying you for that? You guys gonna
Spray
paint some
paint
pictures?
bandits.
Spray paint!
Here's what I could tell you about guys like this. They're tough, but only with people that they know that they can take.
Again, another whole bunch of non-masculine, like this is a real, we have a serious epidemic in this country of men like this. It's a problem. It's a real problem that have such insecurity, such need to overpower, to dominate, to impose their dominion on other people, to be the, like that need, that's some, they got some issues.
Oh, it's big shortcomings for sure.
Yeah, you gotta put that paint away real quick. That's what you found was paint. You found paint.
It's on the wrong car.
I don't see where did they have a warrant for that? Like, I'm very confused. I want to know what the warrant said. I want to know why they didn't do a knock and announce. Why did they bust in before?
The idea that they felt that they needed to do a busting is, to me, that's more for the cameras than anything else.
Well, yeah, this is the only time you would do that. By the way, the only time you do that is when there is imminent danger that if somebody knows that you're coming in, that it will just either hurt people or destroy evidence, right? Like that's the thing. And you have to have some sort of, foundation for that belief, right? Like it can't just be pulled out of your ass. So you do that when there's danger inside, that's danger. This is off the wall. This is some crazy stuff. Now, I don't know if they had a warrant. I don't know what is going on, but the fact that they didn't knock and announce is insane.
I don't think they know what art is. I think this one looks like she's about to take a pee on the back.
On a day-to-day basis,
National state art and
This is absurd.
Forward a little bit.
Well, they got more stuff.
So what ends up happening here?
A bunch of unmarked vehicles.
That's the crowbar they brought.
Oh, okay.
They just got to use it on the door.
They're gonna use it on an immigrant later.
Yeah. We remember this one tattoo right here. This one's tattoo on her arm.
Yeah, look away.
You should quit
Look away.
You should quit your job if you want to be a good person. You're gonna be separating families next.
Oh, they're doing it now. This is what it is. This is just part of the whole thing.
Oh, that's what they like to do, huh?
So this is under the jurisdiction of
Dana Nessel.
Michigan. Yeah.
It's Dana Nessel. She pulled this shit. You know the person who thinks she's running for governor next?
Well, this is one of those moves. Like, let me show you how big my balls are, how much I can threaten students.
Oh, let me tell you, this comes right out of the Hillary Clinton playbook, like 100%. And yet, when these little Zionist shitbags who are as stereotypical Jewish as you could possibly be in the worst way, this is the reverse that comes up when they complain about students protesting on campus. Now, I don't remember this guy's name, but he's got a fairly sizable account. And this is the type of stuff that they do to try to convince people that they're under attack.
We will not rest this close. Divest. We will not stop. We will not rest this close. Divest. We will not stop. We will not rest this close. Divest. We will not stop. We will not rest this close. Divest. We will not stop. We will not rest this close.
Our campus. It's public space. On the Yale student.
He can only go around.
It's public campus. You don't own this. I pay for this, just like you.
This is what scrawny little bitches like this motherfucker chooses to do. And of course, he goes up to women. He wouldn't dare try this with a man. He's like, you're in my way. No, you can walk around them. There is this thing called free speech. We're all entitled to it. At least I think we are, but who the hell knows anymore? And this is a guy who has little to no testosterone in his body whatsoever. And he feels that this is his way of trying to prove that he actually has at least some of it in his ball sack. But as far as I could tell, he's got none of it. It's
so absurd. And then these are the same people that will then play victim.
Oh, 100%.
That they don't feel safe. I don't feel safe. I don't feel safe because of my campus. I pay for this. I don't feel safe. Then walk around. You have already been away from these people like 10 minutes ago, right?
100%,
like you
100%. And he's a guy who will 1000% be in favor of the cops raiding that Free Palestine home. Totally on board with that. They made me feel uncomfortable.
Right. So they don't just, so, my comfort is more important than their rights. Spoken like a true entitled Zio.
They will not survive this world. Honestly, I don't want to know people that have never experienced any form of struggle in their life. Like to him, this is struggling. He thinks that this is a struggle, that this makes his life difficult.
Yeah.
Talk about lack of perspective.
I'm a Yale student. I pay tuition. This is my space too. I want to walk in.
The people united will never be defeated.
He said Yale. This isn't Yale.
Will never be
Why can you guys sit here? I can't. Why can't I go through?
The people united.
I can walk through. Why can't I walk through?
The people united will never be defeated. The people united will never be defeated. The people united will never be defeated.
Pathetic.
You know, the reason he doesn't do anything physically is because he probably would get his ass kicked by a woman if he actually tried anything. That's what's so
that
funny.
Group of women would kill him.
They would kick his ass.
Oh, completely.
You wouldn't know what the hell they'd do.
They'd strangle him with his sit-sit. His sit-sit, you saw it? They'll strangle him with it.
You said that. I didn't say that. That's good. Yeah. I like I said, and they will claim that the language that we're using is anti-Semitic, but it's like you said the other day. Okay.
All right.
So?
Well, and here's something else that's just so bizarre is that people don't even know what that means. So the people that are calling people anti-Semites aren't even Semites, right? So Netanyahu, all those people, Ben-Gvir, all those, none of those people are Semites. None of them. They're all white Ashkenazis. So it's so interesting to me that white Ashkenazis are worried about anti-Semitism when they're the ones that are total anti-Semites because they're the ones that don't like brown people. And Semites are Arabs. Semites aren't necessarily Jews. There are Jews that are Semites. There are. And generally people like Netanyahu and Ben-Gvir hate them because those are the Mizrahi Jews. They don't like those Jews because they are the anti-Semites. You see, that's the thing. If you don't like white Ashkenazi entitled Zios, you're not an anti-Semite. Because I don't have a problem with the Semites. I like the Semites. I don't like white Ashkenazi Zios. I don't like them, but they're not Semites. I'm so tired of this whole thing. It's so stupid. Insurgency.
Jen, would you like to reveal to the audience the name that we're floating around right now?
Yeah. So for anybody who is not aware, we are about to transition. We're going to have like a sort of a rebranding, if you will. It's time. And I'm leaning towards it's going to be revolutionary change. And it's going to basically be what would happen if you set generational change on fire. Like, what would that look like when generational change is just not sufficient and we need to like get past that? That's what we're doing. So revolutionary change.
Colin, can you put up like a poll or something? I'm not sure how to do that, but I know that you can.
I don't know. And the thing is, at the end of the day, it has to be something that I like. So it's not like we can have like,
what if I don't like it?
Well, you and I already talked about it. I thought you were asking a poll of other people.
Yeah.
But we would like help to do a rebranding. We do need sort of a new look. I want some darker colors. Like we do need sort of a new vibe, and that we would like to, kind of debut in a couple of months. So, and we actually are happy to pay somebody for that. I'm not exactly sure the best way to go about it, but, I mean, it's a matter of like, I could do it as a contest, but basically we're very open to ideas.
So we have people like Jessica Mai, who has been here for a long time, that says, hey, listen, we understand. Now, our good friends over at Status Quo have suggested that because generational with a J is not a real word, that could actually be hindering people's ability to find our channel.
Well, Jordan's been saying that for a while, and I don't know that whether it's true or not, but if it is, then, yeah. And I get that because when I tell people generational change, they're not automatically going to do it, right? If you don't specify.
That's true. Yeah. I think that.
So yeah, black and red. So what it'll look like. So like my vision is that if you were to burn our purple and our orange, you would end up with a much redder looking color and a much deeper looking purple. So essentially it will look like a red and black. But yeah, that's kind of what.
I don't know if I agree with that. We'll have to toss that around. You see, you want to go full revolutionary, and I'm kind of. I don't have a problem with the word. I think a revolution is. We need it. Like we're just at that point.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. We're
Look,
at that
the
point.
TikTokers in China understand this. Okay, I think it's fair to say that the world sees it.
The fact that the Chinese are laughing at us just makes it even that much more obvious.
No, what's funny is the fact that the Chinese had probably been laughing at us for years. We just now know about it. That's the thing that's really funny.
It may be true.
Because compared to them, we are so stupid. Like what that guy reveals in that video, when he's saying, you all just sit around, like it's so true.
You just take it. Exactly. Yalla Blight, thank you for the 199. John Cusack, who... listen, John Cusack would never run as an independent, but do I think that John Cusack is one of the good guys? Yeah, he is. He certainly appreciates Jen and appreciates what we're trying to do, which is great. I think he could do more, but sometimes people are only comfortable with doing what they feel is within their purview. But at least he is on the right side of most issues, and especially Israel-Palestine. Y'all abide again with the 199. Thank you so much. The black community must disown Palantir Alex Karp. Well, here's the thing. Alex Karp is so white adjacent that I don't think most of the black community, A, knows who he is, or B, would even claim him if that were the case. So I would find that to be very unlikely. And then, of course, finally, we do have the progressive lefty checking in from Canada, A, with the $5. Someone at work asked me what my solution is, and I said revolution. Yeah. I feel like a lot of people's solution at this point is kind of running into that direction.
Everybody likes the gen and the generational change. I get it. I do. I get it.
One of the most outspoken people about Palantir has been Whitney Webb. Palantir, the best way that I could describe them, and the video will show, is you have what originally was kind of a branch off from the PayPal mafia, which of course is Peter Thiel, Alex Karp, and Elon Musk. This organization, which Alex Karp pretty much oversees, is kind of like the beating heart of the military-industrial complex. And he is very adamant about how he feels about this. So I believe our good friends over at More Perfect Union decided to break this down. And so here we go.
A tech company based here in Denver claims they can revolutionize government systems with their data analysis software, newly powered by artificial intelligence.
They've been hired by the Department of Defense, the FBI, local police departments, and even the IRS and Wendy's to take in the information those organizations collect even more information, and use that data to draw conclusions.
And what we do is we use what legal scholars call predicate-based research. So we would look at you, and then we would go out and say, oh, there's lots of different things in your life that may be indicative of someone involved in bad behavior.
Put simpler, they make software that
things in your life that may be indicative of someone involved.
It's like Minority Report. That's what it's like. It's like Minority Report with the precogs, where there's people in those. Like, do you remember that?
Yes, this is Alex Karp. I would never figure him for a mixed race man, mulatto. He looks like an Indian man, to be honest. But he is an evil son of a bitch. And his justification behind
how old is this video?
So when he did this with Charlie Rose, this has to be probably 20 years ago, I would guess.
Well, right. See, I don't know this guy. This is the guy that you're saying is a Palantir?
This is his, he runs Palantir.
Okay.
This is the guy. Involved in bad behavior.
Put simpler, they make software that makes it easier for their customers to collect and analyze data, and then act on that analysis with and without AI. By 2013, 10 years after their founding, Palantir's client list included the FBI, the CIA, the NSA, the Marines, the Air Force, Special Operations Command, and more.
Did your company help to track and kill Osama bin Laden?
You know, we can never. I'll tell you, the closest thing to an answer is when you look at when you open the paper and look in the news.
How come he looks white
these kind
now?
of things? There's a 2/3 chance, depending on the country involved, that somehow my company was involved.
I don't understand. Why doesn't he look the same? He looks like he doesn't look.
I don't know, but when you're talking over him when he's talking, that's not good.
Oh, sorry.
I'm going to play it again. I want you to listen this time, please.
All right.
When you open the paper and look in the news about these kind of things, there's a 2/3 chance, depending on the country involved, that somehow my company was involved.
So he's admitting to war crimes in real time. You know that war that started there, that bomb that was dropped there? Yeah, Palantir had a hand in that stuff. I don't know. If we had laws that actually applied to people in real positions of power, maybe we would get somewhere. Oh, how I long for the days of Teddy Roosevelt, if only he were still around.
Juan didn't leave Palantir entirely for ethical reasons. He just got another job. But the reason he eventually started speaking out against Palantir came after watching the Israeli invasion of Gaza following the October 7th attacks. Palantir has contracts with the Israeli Defense Forces.
Why? Can't hear you, Jen.
I muted myself because you wouldn't want to hear me. But look how like Peter Thiel looks there. Like, what is with him there?
Peter Thiel, I am convinced, much like Wasserman Schultz, is a lizard person. That he's trying.
Because he just looks so sketchy there.
Well, he looks like he's trying to break out of his skin, like he's in some type of a protective.
Look at this whole group. Like all of it. This is like the guy in the middle looks like Daddy Warbucks. The guy on the right is like a bad Jack Black. Like, who are these people? And why is his face blurred out?
Because he's an IDF soldier, and the guy in
Oh,
the
they usually
middle.
they're very proud of their genocidal ways.
Well, I mean, your guess is as good as mine. But that might as well be Ben Gvir standing in the middle. But this is who the two men that you need to know about regarding Palantir. The man on the left is Alex Karp. The man on the right is Peter Thiel. And the blue-shirted, bald-headed jabroni in the middle is some Israel war profiteer, most likely. But that's what this company is. Palantir is without question.
Good point, Schultze. Schultze's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's knockoff Javier Bardem all the way on the right.
Exactly. Yeah, good call.
The exact nature of the contracts is opaque, intentionally, but there is evidence to suggest that Palantir's artificial intelligence tech was used for selecting targets in Gaza. Karp doesn't mind the controversy. In fact, it's part of the marketing.
Palantir will even pick up the projects that other companies rejected for political reasons.
We are very comfortable being unpopular.
Karp doesn't think controversy will lose Palantir customers.
Whatever is pissing them off, they're still buying the product.
Wendy's hired Palantir to help with their supply chain. Palantir works with health insurance companies to build AI for denials management
How about that? So not only does Palantir fully support Israel's genocide, they are also responsible for what ultimately led to Luigi Mangioni's Mangione monetary theory about how to deal with the for-profit health system. Palantir is who was working with Brian Thompson at UnitedHealth.
Oh, so this is that lovely AI program that he knew had more than a 90% inaccuracy rate and yet continued to do that.
Correct.
Okay.
Protect revenue.
Do you want Palantir's AI making decisions about what care is covered for you and your loved ones?
They also do business with for-profit hospitals, major investment banks, and even other defense contractors. In 2024, Palantir brought in nearly $2.9 billion in revenue, 55% of which came from government sources, with the vast majority being American. So let's look at their pitch to the American government. Last year, Palantir CTO Sham Sankar put out a presentation and white paper called The Defense Reformation. He cites The Last Supper, which was a secretive 1993 meeting between defense industry executives and the Deputy Secretary of Defense. Over a dozen companies walked in, and only a few walked out. That dinner is often cited as the origin of our consolidated military-industrial complex.
And to me, I think this was the definitive moment that kicked off the financialization of defense. From that point forward, it became all about buybacks and dividends and leverage ratios.
Criticizing the financialization of the defense industry, calling out stock buybacks, that doesn't sound like a defense executive. That sounds more like the exact argument about the defense industry that we have made before.
I think what's interesting to me about Palantir is how they co-opt the language of revolution.
The central question, in my view, of civil liberties is how, it's not if the government has data, because let's assume the government has as much data as a health insurance company. It's how is that data being used? Is it being used in a way that's lawful? Meaning, do they have the right to use it? And is it being migrated into places it's not allowed to be used? We allow the enforcement of rules that government ought to enforce. And by the way, my experience is they want to enforce, or at very least know they need to enforce. And if it's framed in that way, then you can have what is the ultimate Silicon Valley solution.
One co-founder openly wants to use the power of the tech.
I'm telling you, he's trying to break out of that suit.
His lizard, like his human suit. He's a lizard man in a human suit.
I mean, look at his face. It looks like it's bulging in like 5 different directions at once.
It could just be bad plastic surgery.
You think he's wearing a skin graft all over his face?
I don't know what he is, but something is off.
And he looks like he's sweating profusely, like in every direction.
Because he's a lying sack of shit. Could that be it?
Yeah. That's one way of looking at it.
Industry to affect politics. The other wants his company to have oversight over how the government data they're paid to handle is
That
used.
does not look like the same guy from that other video. Sure.
No, it's the same guy.
It doesn't even look like their nose is different. Like it just doesn't even look at all like the same guy, but okay.
Well, maybe he had a little bit of, I had to change
I mean,
my
he
skin.
definitely looks like vitiligo. I mean, there's something, it's not just that, a lot of it. He just doesn't even look at all the same, but okay.
Well, no, I decided to do a little skin bleaching, and that's how I look like this now.
Stop it. Stop it.
Whatever the case is, you're looking at two of the most evil, sinister tech oligarchs that we've ever seen. They probably got a lot of cues from Bill Gates, among other people. But the scariest thing about Alex Karp is that he truly thinks he's a special person, like he's doing God's work, if you will.
They all do. All of them do. Bezos does, Gates does. They all do. They really do. They feel above all of that. They are very above. They're above the law. They're above. Yes, they're entitled.
You can't put me in federal prison. Do you know how many people depend on me for their jobs? That's like, they look at it that way. That's why like I said, when you get to a certain level, the laws don't matter anymore. They just don't. They always find a way around it.
And the founders of Palantir will retain control in the company no matter what, through an obscure ownership structure. Their Class F shares grant them 49.99% of voting power, even if they collectively own as little as 6% of the company.
At the start of this journey, I was extremely afraid for the repercussions of this writing, of speaking out, but now I'm like, even more convinced that this is absolutely necessary.
We can't replace our current broken system with an even more broken one. And we can't let the worst people in Silicon Valley become our government.
It's not about whether you're actually at risk for speaking out or not. It's just the idea that somebody's watching you is enough to push people into silence.
I always feel like somebody's watching me. And it's true. And think that song's 40 years old. But people are watching us. And that's the truth. And not only are they watching us, but they're trying to stop at every turn the people from speaking out against the state of Israel. It all comes back to these multinational corporations. We talked about it from the very beginning when it came to Miriam Adelson and what she does. And now we're talking about the most powerful tech firm in the world today, Palantir. And they play God. And they, as Alex Karp said, what Google will not do, will do it. There is no moral compass here.
Well, none of these people have any respect for law anyway. Like, there's no laws. This is all, they work in a whole different universe that's outside the law.
I mean, if you think about it, when have you ever seen anybody at that level ever be taken down? The last time somebody of that magnitude truly got taken down, I mean, listen, they did every which way to try to do it to Trump, but Nixon really was the last person of that level of magnitude that got taken down. And I'm still convinced to this day that Nixon got taken down because the powers that be decided he needed to be taken down.
Well, because now people don't get taken down, they just get Epsteined.
Sure, that's probably true. I would say that that's a more accurate description.
I mean, I think it's just, it's different, but I think that these Palantir people need to understand Mangione monetary theory. That's what I think. I think they need a lesson in Mangione monetary theory.
Would you pick Alex Karp or would you pick Peter Thiel?
I don't really care.
I would pick Alex Karp because I'm always more concerned with the brains than I am with the muscle. I don't see Peter Thiel as anywhere near as intelligent as Alex Karp. I think Alex Karp is an extremely cunning, depraved genius in many ways. And he truly believes what he's doing is right. Peter Thiel can't even keep himself inside his lizard skin anymore. Like, he's just going to pop out.
He does look like he's molting.
So when we talk about why the Luigi Mangione story is so big, this is it. This is where it grows from. So when you know that AI was being used to circumvent the process for people to be able to get health coverage even worse, know that Palantir is involved with this in a very big way. Progressive Lefty, thank you again for the $2.
Go to his next one. He said it doesn't mean anything. He's being, yeah.
YouTube won't let me say what I want.
That to me all the time when I'm in punch-up chat. Like, it'll totally not let me say certain things. It does. They won't let me say certain things.
We appreciate the support.
Yeah, I don't think he was really talking about trees.
Well, Maximus, thank you so much for the $1.99. And for all of you guys being here this evening. And I think did we get one more?
Yeah, we have a couple. There's a couple that have come through.
And Tammy, Elisa, thank you so much again for the $4.99. Okay, chat GPT suggestions: red, white, and blueprint, beyond the center, future and progress, structural integrity, filibustered.
That's so strange that's what it came up with.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Like instead of, yeah. Guys, I'm in a really different phase than I was a few years ago in terms of like my mindset.
Well, if you had to pick one of these 5, which one would you grab?
Of those 5?
I'm pretty sure I know which one I would take.
All right. I don't know. I guess I'd have to go with filibustered.
Future and progress is the one that I would probably grab.
Red. It's just not. It's just it's not clever.
Excuse me. Red, white, and blueprint.
I don't even understand what that means. Future and progress.
Red, white, and blueprint. Really great name.
They're all bad. I don't like any of those. I like revolutionary change. I'm done with this.
Revolutionary change is a good name, and I think it will. First of all, it'll attract a lot of attention. So if that's the goal, then I guess that's what we're going to go for.
My goal is I'm just trying to not jump out of my own skin with the rage. So that's what I do, and this is the kind of stuff that But I'm in the process right now of reading Revolutionary Suicide, and which I am loath to say I haven't read sooner, but I am reading it now. In any event, that's where it's at.
So we actually don't have a guest for this upcoming Monday. Rach, you got to get on that one. We need a guest. We have it. Maybe
we have to tell her who we want. Like, I don't know if I
guess we could do Steve Sosby and see if he's available then.
Yeah, see if he's for sure.
Yeah, so let's look into that. Trying to get Blakely on.
I have a new book that I just downloaded that I want to talk to the guy, but I'm not going to give it to you because you end up booking people so fast
I won't
that I end up having to read stuff way faster than I can.
Oh, God forbid.
Okay, so the book is called Propaganda.
I think I've heard of that book. Who wrote it?
Yeah. And it's how the police and media manipulate our news. And the author, I've seen him on, again, I see people on interviews. His name is Alec Karakatsanis. And yeah, so it's called Propaganda. And I am going to be listening to that, but I haven't quite yet.
Well,
it's on my to-do list. I have a whole bunch. Like, I can only do so much.
Well, have fun with that. We need to continue to start stacking the schedule.
I will get, look, I am. I'm working on it. I have a lot of reading on my plate. I would love to get, I'll tell you who I really want to talk to is Frederica Newton.
Not Frederica Wilson?
No.
That's true.
Frederica Newton is who wrote that quote that I felt very inspired by. She is the widow of Huey P. Newton. And she is still alive. Like, she's around. She's, you might want to see if we could get her attention on social media potentially, but I would love to talk to her because I felt very inspired. Just from her introduction of the reprint of the book.
Yeah. If you guys have any suggestions.
Travers is desperate for us to talk to Tad.
Guys, if you
Maybe
have-
I'll connect with him though when I'm in Ireland. And I saw people asking when I'm going to be there. I'm going to be in Ireland basically for 11 days in the middle of June. And I don't want to like say exactly and what I'm doing, but I'm getting around.
if you guys are so inclined and you have any suggestions for our channel, we appreciate any and all suggestions that you guys have. Please email generationalchange@gmail.com, especially with any suggestions for guests, any connections to those potential guests that maybe we're not currently in touch with. Any and all things that you could do to help us is tremendously appreciated. Make sure that you have smashed that like button. Make sure that you are subscribed. A lot of times people do get bounced. And make sure that you share wherever you can. And of course, we have been growing. We are almost at 21,700 subscribers. Hey,
we're like the little engine that could.
We are. We're doing our very best. I think we're doing okay. I think we've hit a little bit of a stride, but obviously we want to keep it going. That's the key. So with that said, we appreciate you all being here. Thank you so much for your amazing support. Have a wonderful weekend. We'll see you Monday.
Free Palestine.
Free Palestine.